ओम जय स्वाहा माता।
बोली श्री गुरु महाराज की जय। Let us all concentrate on the forms of our respective gurus, those who have been initiated. You can repeat your guru mantras in your minds. Those of you who have not yet been initiated can visualize on any form of divinity that pleases you best as we seek the blessings of Guru. Gurur Brahma Guru Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha। गुरु जी के चरणों में शीश को झुकाओ, जन्म जन्म से भाग्य फल को पाओ। गुरु जी के चरणों में शीश को झुकाओ, गुरु जी के चरणों में शीश को झुकाओ। जन्म जन्म से भाग्य फल को पाओ। गुरु जी के चरणों में शीश को झुकाओ। लागे मोह माया ना कबहु जगत के, दया सिंधु गुरु जी को चरण न ध्याओ। दया सिंधु गुरु जी को चरण न ध्याओ। गुरु जी के चरणों में शीश को झुकाओ। भटकता रहा हूँ मैं युग युग से स्वामी, मिली ज्ञान आँखें हरि दर्श पाओ। मिली ज्ञान आँखें हरि दर्श पाओ। गुरु चरणों में शीश को झुकाओ। काम क्रोध मद लोभ शत्रु है भारी, गुरु ज्ञान खंग से मारा भगाओ। गुरु ज्ञान खंग से मारा भगाओ। गुरु जी के चरणों में शीश को झुकाओ। जिस वेद कहता अचन मायन दी, उस देख कर मन की दुविधा मिटाओ। जिस वेद कहता अजन मायन भी, उस देख कर मन की दुविधा मिटाओ, उस देख कर मन की दुविधा मिटाओ। गुरु जी के चरणों में शीश को झुकाओ, गुरु जी के चरणों में शीश को झुकाओ। बोली श्री गुरु महाराज की जय। Guru Gita says, devotees, Dhyana Moolam Guru Murti, Puja Moolam Guru Padaha, Mantra Moolam Guru Vakyam, Moksha Moolam Guru Kripaha. The basis of meditation lies with the form of the Guru. The basis of puja, worship, the lotus-like feet of the Guru. The basis of all sacred formulas, the word of the Guru mantra, and the liberation, freedom, depends upon the grace of the Guru. What is this Guru all about? Who is this Guru? Guru Gita tells us that there are three types of Guru, or spiritual teachers as we call them. There is Kul Guru, family priest. There is Vidya Guru, the teacher. And there is the Diksha Guru, the one who has initiated us into divine life. Now, the Kul Guru, we are advised, should be one. We should have one family priest. You know, it's stated somewhere, if you go to a doctor, you get a prescription. If you go to 2, you get a consultation. And by mistake you go to 3, you can get your cremation. In other words, too many cooks spoil your broth, we are told. When we have too many family priests, it leads to confusion. The differences that are projected can cause confusion in our minds. And for many obvious reasons, we are advised that the family priest should be one. The Vidya Guru, or the teacher, as the bees would go from flower to flower extracting pollen, so to the disciple can go from teacher to learn. It's not a problem. So you can have many teachers. Diksha Guru, the one who has initiated us, should be only one. A person cannot be and should not be initiated more than once. If, for instance, your Guru dies, or for some reason he is ineffective, non-functional, one can adopt a Guru. A Guru who we can follow, but we cannot be initiated in the same way as usual, as we have been initiated the first time. So there is an eventuality where we can adopt a Guru, but he cannot initiate us, or he should not initiate us in the way that we have been first initiated. So we have these 3 types of Gurus: Kul Guru, Vidya Guru, Diksha Guru. When we speak of the basis of all meditation lies with the form of the Guru, etc., it is the Diksha Guru that we are referring to. That Guru who introduces us into spiritual or divine life. When we become initiated, we become twice born. Each person has a biological birth. The scriptures tell us we are in that state of impurity until we become initiated. Spiritual life. So there we get into divine life. We become twice born. And the spiritual preceptor is the one who initiates us and puts us on that pathway. Now, every person is supposed to be initiated. Every person. In the past, we have had many misconceptions with respect to this guru concept. Thank God that these misconceptions do not really exist now. But there were cases where the ladies were told that the husband is your guru. Sometimes the husband doesn't know for himself, but don't know how he could guide you. And such foolishness. We have been told if parents have the same guru, children can't have the same guru. And again, I say that is nonsense. For if you look, we mentioned that family priest, one for the family, one guru. Guru Vasisht, the guru of Raja Dashrath's father, of Raja Dashrath, of the sons of Dashrath, the Kul Guru. You see, people use superficial factors as they perceive them to be to determine what the practice should be. You know, they say if husband and wife have the same guru, they become like God brother and God sister. If a young man and a young girl have the same guru, God brother, God sister, so they can't get married because that is brother and sister getting married. What foolishness. I want to thank God and also many devotees and some of us as pundits also for removing this misconception, this foolishness that a lot of people practiced and that would bind us in certain ways. Should not be like that. So everybody should have a guru. You should be initiated. And a whole family could have the same guru. As a matter of fact, if I may suggest, I think that is highly recommended. For as I mentioned earlier on, as you would have one family priest, you come back, if you have many gurus in the same family, you could have the same confusion. One guru say this, next guru say that, next guru say that. Now you're in confusion. You are in confusion. Who to follow? What to follow? In the same family, my guru say this, my guru say that. Which guru right? How do you know? So for very obvious reasons, as I have been putting to you, it is also recommended that as you have one family priest, one guru, and people have the different choices, you can't help that, but you have to be prepared for whatever confusions that arise later on. So, with a guru, we have the disciple and we have the guru mantra. The guru is given a very high status. And all I want to say is that to whom much is given, much is expected. The guru has to have that qualification. Not just the garb, not just the name. As I mentioned many, many years ago in my discourses, not because a man can sing nicely, it doesn't mean he's qualified to be a guru. Not because he makes good jokes is he qualified to be a guru. Not because he has good looks, which will eliminate me, does it mean that he's qualified to be a guru. Guru is more than that. And many have chosen gurus because of these superficial aspects. I can't even call them qualities. And when you have real problems, when you need real guidance, you can't find your guru. He doesn't have the capacity. So that is not a case of just who you like. I like he or I like he, as people say. He's very nice. Can he function? Does he have the spirituality? Life is not a joke. Life is not a joke. So the guru is supposed to be a learned person, a spiritual person, an experienced person, one who has the capacity to guide you as you go through the corridors of life. Let's put it like this. This ocean of duality, we're all traveling like so many travelers on the ship. Life is like a boat or a ship. The guru is supposed to be the captain for the ship of life. If you do not have a proper captain, an experienced captain, the turbulence in this ocean of duality will soon turn the boat upside down, will destroy it, which has been happening to countless. Countless. And then because of that, we jump from here to there, all over, looking for some solace, looking for some help. When the one who's supposed to help us, he doesn't have the capacity, he's not there. But remember this, you make the choice. So you have to carry that burden. The guru is supposed to conduct himself in an appropriate manner. He is spirituality. He represents spirituality. And Ramayana tells us, when the guru compromises his principles, then dharma vinash ho jai. Dharma is destroyed. Righteousness is destroyed. This is why they said in Kali Yuga, the guru mustn't be blind. I don't mean physically. We have many gurus who are blind, chelas who are deaf, meaning what? The gurus turn a blind eye to the wrongdoings of the chelas, especially if he gets good dakshina from them. He will tell them nothing. Or what he will tell them, no problem, anything you do, you fix up. I will take care of it, as if he could take care of it. That guru is going to hell. And the chela, on the other hand, is deaf. When the guru says, don't do that, don't do that, we have the response, who do you think he's talking to? Huh? He knows what he's saying. That chela is going to go to hell. Man must not compromise his principles. And I draw your mind to Raja Dashrath. When Vishwamitra Muni went to Ayodhya Puri, welcomed by Dashrathji, worshipped and honored, and then told, ask, O sage, why have you come? Tell me, I shall give you whatever you ask for. Vishwamitra said, I want your two sons, Sri Ram and Lakshman. Dashrath now backtracked. O sage, you talk without thinking. How could I give my two sons to you? In other words, he went back on his word. Guru Vasishtha was right. He stood up and he said, Dashrath, you are wrong. Mind you, Dashrath was the king. The guru doesn't discriminate whether king, whether pauper. His duty is his duty. He said, Dashrath, you are wrong. Firstly, you committed yourself. So you are breaking your word. Your lineage prefer to die but never allow their word to fall. And you want to break your word, Dashrath? It's not right. And secondly, Vishwamitra is qualified to receive Sri Ram and Lakshman. Give them. Now that is what you call guru, who without fear, without favor, will tell you what is right and proper. And it is not to assert his power over you, it is to protect you from making mistakes, committing sins of omission or commission. This is what you have to understand. This is one of the purposes of the guru, to guide us through life. So he has to have that capacity. So if the guru fails, no matter what, if we fail in our duty, we fail. So to the gurus, we must understand what our responsibilities are. It's not a glamorous thing. Not at all glamorous. Many people perceive it to be glamorous and beneficial, financial and otherwise, but it comes with a duty. Intense sacrifice. And I've always said this too, if you want to lead others, you have to be in front. Meaning what? Experience-wise, knowledge-wise, spirituality, you must be ahead. How else could you lead? Could a blind lead the blind? So therefore the gurus have to prepare themselves. If you want to accept this responsibility, prepare yourself. And just a word of caution to the gurus too. Remember it is said, don't know how true, but I think it's nice, that the gurus have to carry half of all the chelas' sin. So it means that whatever disciple you have, whatever sins they carry on, you have to carry half that burden. I don't know how they measure in the half. But I guess the point is that you are responsible, as parents are responsible for your children. If you do not teach them right, you don't guide them in the right, if you don't do your duty, you are liable. And therefore, you can fall flat on your face also. If the people, you don't do your duty and they don't carry out the responsibility, the chelas in the right way. So it's a heavy responsibility. And the wise ones of the past, they hesitate, they think twice before they initiate anyone. In today's world, we have many gurus running behind people to initiate them because they perceive their popularity as being how many chelas you have. You have to question that. That the Kalnemi type guru we talk about, as Ramayana tells us. And many of us are fooled easily by the sweet talk of others. Easily fooled. But then, Jaisa Karni, Vaisa Bharni. So it comes to the disciple. You have your duty, your responsibilities, your obligations. Respect that guru. As scripture say, Matri Deva Bhava, Pitri Deva Bhava, Achara Deva Bhava. Not that your guru is God, but from your perspective, you consider him to be like that. As you consider your parents, mother, father, guru, you consider them to be like that. You do your duty at all times. Remember, work is worship, duty is God. And we have a guru mantra. The guru will give you a mantra. The guru mantra. It is a very, very powerful tool that we're supposed to use. In today's world, people run all sides, jump like frogs, I say, like mad ants running all sides for help. And you have a very powerful tool, your guru mantra. If you use that guru mantra in the way that you have been advised, there is no need to run anywhere else. Nowhere else. Nowhere else. People just don't seem to understand that the Satcha Guru, the true Guru, the power he possesses. He doesn't flaunt it though. He looks ordinary. He looks simple. But that mantra he gives you, that's a spiritual impetus, is for you to practice. You know, like once there was this chela, the guru, he initiated 2 chelas, let's put it like this, 2 chelas. And after having initiated them, he gave each one a chana grain. He said, I want you to take care of this chana grain. I'll pass back a few years. When I pass back, I want to see it. First fellow said, Guru said, keep it well. She put in a piece of foil. In those days, they had foil too. She wrapped up the foil nice and put it in a tin and put it inside his wardrobe. Those days we had wardrobe, not space saving, wardrobe. Secure it. When Guru come back, I'll show it to him. The second chela is saying, if I keep this thing, I don't know when Guru will pass back. It might rot. So let me plant it. So he planted it. He took care of it. And so from one chana green, he got a chana tree. Yeah? And from one chana tree, he got a plantation of chana. He began to export chana. He became a chana merchant. He became very, very wealthy because of that one seed. Many years passed, Guru came back, went to the first fellow. Fellow came and he bowed and so on. Happy to see his Guru. He should be. Guruji said, where is the chana grain I gave you? Fellow said, Guru, I have it. Cool up. He went inside, dug up way behind where dust out all the cobweb and so on. Opened it and when he took it out, one small black speck. Chana grain dead. So what Guru said, Beta, well, this is the best of your knowledge. What can I say to you? He went to the second chela and said, Beta, where is your chana grain? Fellow bowed and said, Guruji, I don't know if I did the right thing, but look, this is the first chana tree. I planted that seed you gave me right here. And I kept this tree right here because every day I do my puja here. This is the seed that you gave me. And from this one tree, Guruji, look, acres of chana. Guruji, I'm exporting chana. And Guru, I have a seed here for you. Chana only too. So whole bag of chana. Then Guru blessed him. He said, my child, you have the right insight. Knowledge without insight is useless. Without application, that chana grain is like the Guru mantra. First fella put it, yeah, you have it, yeah, but he didn't practice it. The second person planted it, he took care of it, meaning he practiced it, that Guru mantra. If you practice that Guru mantra, which is compared to the chana seed, you become powerful, wealthy, everything under all circumstances. But it is whether you can do it or whether you are doing it, whether you have done it, and whether you will continue to do it. This is the power of the mantra. power of the mantra. So that those of you who have been initiated, whether the Guru mantra is Ram, Om Namah Shivaya, whatever it may be, the Guru gave it to you, he planted that seed into the intellect. If you don't practice it, it will be like that first fella. It will rot and die. You have nothing to gain from it. And I'm saying that if people really practice your Guru mantra, you believe in God, the Guru mantra takes you towards that direction. Why do you have to jump like frogs all over? By all kind of psychic, all kind of obiaman, all kind of siaman who can even see for themselves. Taking your money and fooling you. When you have the power right there with you. When are we going to settle down and believe in what we have been taught? When? Remember this. Your mantra is very, very important. Practice it. The Guru may die and go, but the concept of a Guru never dies. My Guru has died many years ago, but he's still my Guru. I will have none else. But coming to that, we have many whose Gurus have died, whose Gurus have become loose, whose Gurus have become lascivious, etc. The question is, if your Guru falls from grace, what should you do? Still bow on his feet? Still do his arati, worship him? The Guru Gita is fair. If your Guru falls from grace, you're not supposed to worship him again. As a matter of fact, you touch the feet of anyone, not only the feet anybody, you touch anybody who doesn't live the right life, you lose merits. Heat flows from a point of high intensity to low intensity. This is why we keep saying, you don't run all over and try to bow on everybody's foot you see. You have to know their background, know the kind of life they live. Don't look at the garb only. You don't judge a book by its cover. You have to know the quality. You have to know the lifestyle. So just in case the Guru falls from grace, many of the old people say, don't mind what he do, he will pay for. You do your part. Guru Gita doesn't say so. If he falls from grace, you don't have to worship him again anymore. But you can adopt another Guru, as I mentioned earlier on. But it is not right to criticize and condemn the Guru who has fallen from grace. He will pay for his karmas, yes. But that doesn't mean to say you must turn around and be, judgmental and condemn him. That is not your right to so do. You can adopt a Guru and get on with your life. What he does, he will pay the penalty for it. So, all these points must be understood, and where the Guru is concerned, remember, it's a very important institution which we all should try to maintain. And remember, Guru Mantra, most important, practice it.
Om Jai Swaha Mata Maya Jai Swaha